Is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the best point guard in the NBA? So there was a survey that came out that the GM survey, and basically they were talking about, you know, a bunch of different categories. And one of the categories was best point guard, best shooting guard, best small forward, all those things. And Shai won best point guard. Anthony Edwards won best shooting guard. Luka won best small forward, which, was controversial because there was like a whole thing like, what position does Luka actually play? um, Giannis won best power forward, and then Jokic won best center. So I don't think it should be a surprise that Jokic and Giannis won their categories, and it was like overwhelmingly them, right? Like Giannis won, I don't know, 90 something percent of his votes, and Jokic I think was like 97%. I think the other 3% went to Wemby, so not surprising. But is Shai the best point guard in the NBA? Because he won like 70% of the votes, I believe. And that means overwhelmingly the GMs consider Shai the best point guard in the NBA. Like, it wasn't really close. So that being said, obviously other players who were on the list, I'm trying to remember who was on there, but you had players like, I'm sure Steph Curry was on there. I'm sure Jalen Brunson was on there. What other? I mean, I have to go back and look. I don't know if Luka was on there, but I told you Luka. There's like a controversy, like what position does Luka actually play? You know, so he might have been on the best point guards list too, because he also is a point guard. That's the thing. So overwhelmingly, and the reason I'm talking about Shai, specifically, is because Shai has become a polarizing player. In my opinion, I don't think he's polarizing, but because of, the free throws that he gets, a lot of people have, you know, categorized Shai. Like, there's a lot of people who just like don't like Shai anymore because of how many free throws he gets. And I personally don't, I'm not on that train. Like, I don't, like, yes, does he get superstar calls? Of course. So does a lot of players. Um, I don't think he, like, I don't think, okay, no offense to James Harden, but like, when James Harden used to get some of those calls back in his Houston days, I still, I'm not going to let like a player like bother me, so to speak, right? But like, it definitely, I wasn't a fan of some of those calls that he would get because it would be a little bit annoying too. Because it's like James Harden, smartly as a player, but it was like James Harden is clearly like hooking the player or, throwing his head back, to, even though there probably was some kind of contact, but like to exaggerate the contact so that he gets the call. No offense, James Harden. He obviously was a really, really good player, is a really good player. And I'm not saying he didn't deserve any of those calls. And like I said, very talented, very smart. Like, you take advantage of the rules if you can. But at the same time, some of those calls, like, a lot of us were like, come on now. I feel like with Shea, I don't I don't look at all his calls, and I don't like, I feel like he's not he's not like falling on the floor, like flopping everywhere, trying to overly exaggerate all his calls. Sure, he, makes sure that the contact, is seen by the refs. Um, but I don't feel like he is, putting on a show. You know what I mean? When he's trying to get foul calls. Um, so that's why, like, I'm not on the same page with a lot of people with this Shea thing. But at the same time, um, Shea has become a player where, again, he's a bit polarizing to people. And do we think Shea is the best point guard in the NBA? Like, overwhelmingly, like 70%. And my answer is, do I think Shea is the best point guard in the NBA? It's tough. It's hard to say, anybody over Steph Curry, right? Just like it's hard to say, well, I guess not now because LeBron's like 40, but it's hard to say if we go back like 5 years, anybody over LeBron, right? Like, it's just like, how do you pick someone over LeBron when LeBron is doing his thing? And I guess you could say him and Kevin Durant play the same position, so you could argue those two. But I'm saying, like, that is kind of like what I'm saying. When Steph Curry is still doing his thing, right, at the level at which he's still doing it, it's hard for me to be like, Shea, is better, but at the same time, Shea is also like top tier at what he does. And he, was the clear number one option on the Thunder. He clearly, led them to not just championship aspirations, but to the championship. He was awesome. He was averaging 30 all year. Like, it's hard to go against Shea, being the best point guard as well. So that's why I'm like, yes and no. Like, I understand why people would say Shea is the best point guard. It's clear, it's obvious, and he's right in his prime. Like, he has um a lot of time to even, make his resume much better. At the same time, it's really hard to say it's not Steph Curry also, because Steph Curry is still literally doing, like, he's still in his prime doing his thing. So I can't pick between the two. I can't pick. Uh, like, if we're talking, like, you know, as the timeline goes on, obviously Shea has more time, like I said. So then, yeah, Shea. But, like, if you have a game, right? If you're playing a game, who do you want on your team more? If you're playing a pickup game, who do you want on your team more? Do you want Shea or you want Steph Curry? And, like, there's no wrong answer. It's like a tough choice. They're both so awesome. Um, Somebody said Brunson, Luca, Shea, and are all master foul baiters. They graduated from the from the Harden Academy. uh, you know, credit to James Harden though, because I mean, like, I did talk about how in his Houston days, I didn't necessarily enjoy, watching some of those fouls, but at the same time, like, nobody did a better job of taking advantage of the rules and the way that he could get fouls than James Harden. That's a skill too. Like, it's not easy to do what he did, even though, you know, um, Victor Wembanyama. Oh, shout out to Victor Wembanyama on the live stream. That'd be funny if that was actually Victor Wembanyama. Shout out to you for making. And if it's the real Victor Wembanyama, hello. But I don't think it is. Um, uh, Objectively, Shai is better than Curry right now. It's a tough one. Like I said, like you can go either way. They obviously they both have their strengths. Like Shai is, really, really, really good at the mid-range game. Um, and Steph Curry is not even just really good, the greatest shooter of all time. But they both can, finish at the rim. They're both really good finishers. Um, so it's tough to choose between the two of them. Like they both have their strengths and weaknesses. Um, More so strengths than weaknesses. That's why they're both so great. There's not many weaknesses for either of them. Um, so I don't think it's outlandish or wrong to say it's Shai. I also don't think it's outlandish or wrong to say it's Steph. I guess it's just a matter of preference at this point. Someone said if I'm starting a team right now, I'm choosing Shai over Curry. Well, if you're starting a team, Shai is obviously like 26, so he's gonna have a lot more years as long as he stays healthy to win more and stuff like that. So that makes sense because you're gonna have way more time. But if you're telling me they're both, if Shai, how about this? If Shai and Steph Curry were both 26 years old, who are you starting your team with? How about that? That's a good question. If they're both 26, now who are you picking? That's a tough question. And we saw what Steph Curry did post 26. I don't know when he got his first ring. I don't know what age he was. It was in 2015. He was drafted in 2009. So, and he was, I don't know. I think he was like 3 years in college. So I make him like 21. So 2015 minus 2009. My math is slow right now. Would that be 6 years in the league, right? So then that would make him 27. So that's pretty close to 26, actually. They both kind of got their first ring around the same time. Someone said Curry easily. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, if they're both the same, obviously now again, different, like 26 and 37. It's even though Steph is still Steph, but like objectively, we all know that Steph Curry's career has way less time left than Shai's. Like that's not that's not even shade or anything. That's just facts. But again, if we're talking about when they're both like 26, you got to go with Steph Curry in my opinion cuz I mean, we'll see what Shai does. So like maybe, maybe that'll change as, Shai continues his career. Maybe Shai will win 4 rings. I don't know. Um, but Steph Curry is looking to get his 5th ring, and it's not easy to get one, let alone 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? And I know people will discount the KD rings and whatever. I don't do that, but I know people will. But he won a ring with Klay Thompson being his second best player, then Kevin Durant. I know someone will say Kevin Durant's the best player, but just doesn't matter. His 1 or 2 was KD, and then he won a ring with Andrew Wiggins being the second best player. You could argue it was Jordan Poole at times. It depended on the day, but I would say in the playoffs, Andrew Wiggins was the second best player, like in totality, offense and defense. Obviously, Draymond was the best defender on the team, and it's not even close. And his impact on defense, you know what I mean? But offensively, Andrew Wiggins was giving them like 19 a night in the playoffs. And he was shooting like 40% from 3. And defensively, he was on it. Again, was he a better defender than Draymond? No, but was he like really, really, really good? He was. Like, he took a tough assignment every game and he did his job. And so, um, Steph Curry has won with a bunch of different players being his second best player next to him, or first best if you consider KD better than Steph at the time. Doesn't really matter. So now, as he's chasing ring number 5, you would say that Jimmy Butler is probably the second best player on the team overall, offense and defense. Again, we know Draymond, um, defensive legend and all that stuff, but obviously, offensively, he's not better than Jimmy. So I'm saying, like, just like overall offense and defense together. Not that not that Draymond's not like incredibly important. Um, so if Steph Curry wins his 5th ring with another player as his, second best player, co-star, whatever, that says a lot about Steph Curry, because it's not easy to win ever in the NBA, but to be able to keep winning with like different teammates like every single time, that kind of just speaks to how good you are. It's kind of like put anybody good next to him and he wins. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it says, and that's basically, that says a lot about how good you are as a player. You just need, because you can't win by yourself, obviously. You just need another good player with you and you win. Like that is, true superstar level. Somebody said he was the X Factor. I don't know who you're talking about. 'Cause, maybe you're talking about Andrew Wiggins. But yes, he was. Uh, who should the Warriors target if they're going to trade JK? Okay, Wiggins. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, Wiggins was awesome. Who should the Warriors target? Well, I think they should target Giannis. I think they should target Giannis. Obviously, part of the reason they got Kuminga on that, specific contract is to have a chance at Giannis. So my answer would be Giannis if Giannis becomes available. Um, Outside of that, I don't know, because the landscape of the NBA, I don't know who's going to be available in 6 months from now. It depends on how each team's season is playing out. But Jonathan Kuminga's contract, there's a reason that he got that $23-ish million. It wasn't just because of, like basically just from the Warriors' perspective, this is kind of exactly what they wanted. I mean, they didn't want, obviously, the stretched out time to get a deal done and the way, maybe it went about. And maybe the dollar amount they would have liked a little bit differently. But like that $24 million is kind of ideally what they want, with a no trade clause and a team option. So the Warriors, they made out well in that deal. So thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed.